Welcome to Data Points, a Mid-Hudson Regional Information Center instructional series for district data coordinators. This time on Data Points, we'll be reviewing the State Education Department reference file, popularly known as SEDREF. SEDREF is where you go to find out information about school districts and other entities in New York State. Whether you need a school's beds code, need to contact another district and need a name and phone number, or a school's or historic information, it's all in SEDREF. For example, if you reconfigure the grade levels in a building, you can find that history here in SEDREF. You can also see if beds codes have changed over the years. Keep in mind that data in SEDREF is dependent on a district's diligence in sending the updates, which is a reminder that you may want to look at the information that is available to you in your own district and buildings to ensure that your information is up to date. So let's find out how to get all of this valuable information. To access SEDREF, first go to the Application Business Portal at portal.nised.gov. You don't need to sign in because SEDREF information is publicly available. Just click on SEDREF Query in the Public Links section of the page. You will be taken to a general search screen. There's a menu across the top and bottom. The items in the menu will change depending upon what screen you are in, and they will come in handy when you have a search results available. Let's look at the menu options. General Query Search, Start New Search will take you back to this screen. Internal help generates an error, so we won't talk about that. Public help takes you to the SEDREF information page from which you can link to other SEDREF and child nutrition reports. Login. Since SEDREF is a SEDOS application, if you have the rights to this app, you can log in. When you do log in, you have two options. Institution query. Use this option to look up an institution as well as access to the institution history query. Use this option to search the institution history table. This screen is available to all SED staff without logging in. Let's move on to entering your search criteria. The % sign is the wildcard character. It's also important to note that you must enter a % sign at the end of your search string, even if you have entered the exact string. If you don't, you won't get any results. So let's look at the search criteria and filters that you will enter to generate your list. The most commonly used search field is the name. The wildcard does come in handy here, especially if you don't know exactly how the name is stored. After entering your name, you can click on Find at the lower left and get your results. Or you could filter the search a bit more. You could put a % sign both before and after the text string you are searching, which helps to make sure everything that you want is included. The second most common field that is entered is the SED code, otherwise known as the beds code. This comes in handy if you know the beds code and want to check where the school is associated with. Looking further down the list of search filters, you will notice that some of them have a link to a list. If you know that the school is in Orange County, but you don't know what the county code is, click on the list link, and a window will pop up with a list of counties and their associated codes. You can then click on the desired code to select it. If you're looking for a school with a common name, such as Washington High School, these filters can help narrow down the search results. Whatever criteria you enter, click on Find when you are done. In this example, I looked for all entries with the word Jervis in them. The information at the bottom of the screen shows the number of records that were found. In this case, 15 are displayed. You can navigate to the next group of items by using the next and last icons. You will also have the option of going to a previous screen if applicable. You will notice some familiar entities and probably some that look a bit strange in that they are not related to schools such as the City of Port Jervis Recreation. For our purposes, we will focus on schools, districts, and BOCES. As I mentioned before, there are many filters that can be entered prior to searching. The institution type field can be used to narrow the search to schools or districts, but be careful not to narrow it too much. The next thing to take note of here is the listings for HB, HI, OODP, and PK for Port Jervis. These will provide information on the Port Jervis homebound, home instructed, out of district, and pre-K locations, respectively. These entities exist for all districts. So when you're looking at your district's data, you may want to check those too for accuracy, although there is only one basic information for these locations. Remember that I mentioned that I put the wildcard sign at the beginning of the search string. Note that if you did not, you would not see these entities on the list. And finally, note that separate items are listed for both districts as well as individual schools, buildings within the district. Of course, when searching on Jervis, I will not see other schools in this district that do not have Jervis in their name. They won't be included just because they are in the district. However, back to those filters, there's one filter that will give you all the schools in a particular district. Similarly, when searching for BOCES information, you will also find information on BOCES virtual locations. As I stated before, remember that the accuracy of the information reported here depends on the diligence of the district reporting it. And finally, selecting the Port Jervis City School District gives me all the information I could ever want about the district and then some. Let's talk about the information that is most relevant to the district data coordinators. A quick note about the menu bar at the top. Now that we have selected one of the entities from our search results list, notice that we have the option to go back to the current list. This is a great option so that you can browse through several selections without having to re-enter your search criteria. Let's look at some of the information. First, there's the popular name, how an entity is commonly referred to. There's also the legal name, just in case you need to know that. The next field that is of interest, especially if you're looking up an entity that you are unfamiliar with, is the inactive question. If no is specified on the inactive field, that means that the location is active. Conversely, if yes is indicated, then the location is inactive. A field that is closely tied to this item is the inactive date a little further down. As you can see here, good news, the Port Jervis School District is still active. There are two 12-digit numbers associated with every entry. The SED code, otherwise known as the BEDS code, which we all know and love. It is the unique code that identifies every district, school, and BOCES. Just remember, SED rhymes with BEDS. The second code is the institution ID. It is also 12 digits long, just like the BEDS code. Since it's the first thing to appear on this page, it's easy to assume that this is the number that you want to use. It's not. You want to use the BEDS code, which rhymes with SED. Always easy to remember. Scrolling on down, you will see fields that show Medicaid information, the date the entity was established, assembly and congressional districts, and special education information. You also see physical and mailing addresses and phone and fax numbers for the entity. You can also find district administrators that have been reported by the district. And if you keep scrolling down, there are a couple of interesting items way at the bottom. It's not that no grades are reported for this institution, it's that there are no grade levels reported. So when you're looking to enroll a student in a school, you can only do that if the district has grade levels identified. One of the common issues that we see when you try to enroll a student in a district, except for the preschool students being enrolled for referral, you cannot enroll students in a district. You can always check SEDREF for this information. Since we are looking at the Port Jervis district information here, it makes sense that there are no grade levels for this entity. One final thing to note is that the history of information, you can click on this link to bring up the previous changes that have been reported for this entity. There's a lot of information available, and SEDREF is a very valuable resource that you should refer to often. Please take some time to get used to searching the database and the information that is available to you there. Thank you for watching Data Points, a Mid-Hudson Regional Information Center instructional series for district data coordinators. Please contact Data Warehouse at mhric.org for more information.